Hi, I'm Jeff Bermudez.
And I'm Omar Kadri.
Welcome to The Collective Journey.
Join us as we explore some of the most promising talents, thought leaders, and change influencers in our city and beyond.
As we uncover these hidden gems, I hope you'll find that they're people just like you and I, with hopes and dreams and gifts that they would like to show to the world.
It is our mission to share their work, to share their story, and to appreciate what our community is capable of producing.
This is my adventure.
This is your adventure.
This is our collective journey. Welcome to another episode of The Collective Journey. This week, we look at what it means to create something of value. How far are people willing to go, and how much are they willing to sacrifice in order to realize their vision? Rob Dundas is a father, beer brewer, and business owner. He is the head of his own brewery called Dundas & Sons Brewing Company. Listen in as we discover the struggles he's had to overcome, as well as his passion for his craft. This is Rob Dundas.
I started at a pancake house bussing tables, and then they just threw me in the back, and I ended up doing dishes and making toast. I'd make thousands of orders of toast in the morning.
Okay, and you eventually got to the point where you were cooking food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I cooked at other restaurants. And I don't know. I've gone through all kinds of different changes in my life as far as what I think I'm going to do as a career.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be a carpenter. I thought I was going to be a chef. I thought I was going to be an electrician. And then I ended up doing I went to school, did some sustainable energy diploma, and then I got a job on the wind projects and did that for 5 years, and now I'm going to brew beer.
Nice. Let's talk about the beer then.
Yeah.
So the beer is called Dundas & Sons Brewing Company.
Yeah, that's the name of the company. I named it before my daughter was born. It's
Yeah.
just kind of a joke, and then now it's playing a joke on me. Now it's taking up all my time and turned into a fun little project.
Well, I think it has a nice name because it sounds like a family kind of business,
Yeah.
a mom and pop shop.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
We don't have investors. We don't have shareholders. I was able to get some loans just based on my business plan and stuff like that. And then a fair amount of financial input from myself, saving up and, risking everything I got. Make beer for a living. It's ridiculous.
So you bet on yourself.
Well, I guess I am, yeah.
I'd say how else would you do it, right?
Well, you gotta put something on the table. Everybody, I talked to several investors, right, and they all kept saying you gotta put skin in the game, which is kind of grotesque, really, if you think about it. But it's it's an analogy for risking your own personal harm, because nobody wants to just buy it for you, which I tried. Didn't work.
No. So it seems like you're in the final stages of getting everything together.
Yeah, I got all my applications in. I'm waiting on building permits right now. Hopefully by the time this airs, things will be progressed. But waiting on building permits now, and then it's just a couple quick renovations. I got to put a barrier-free washroom in and some other stuff. AC system on the roof, and a couple big jobs left. I'm waiting for some more equipment too, and then I got to get some things calibrated by the government for paying taxes and that sort of thing.
Okay. That seems like a lot. And if you have the patience, would you be able to walk us through the hoops that you had to jump through from a legal standpoint?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm kind of going in blind, and I'm finding things out as I'm going through the process myself. I had a general idea of what I needed to get done in order to become successful, but with all the new craft breweries popping up all over the province, a lot of the provincial regulations are changing. So I've researched it a couple times, and each time was a potential deal with investors, and then I'd go through the process informally. And then the next time I do it, I had a couple deals that fell through with investors. And each time I've gone through the application process, formally or informally, it's been different. I don't know, you get insurance. And I had to do a bunch of stuff I didn't think I was going to have to do. But I have a spot lease now, and I had to get building permits, I had to hire engineers. There's been a lot of costs that just kind of blindsided me. But I don't know. I still got my head above water, and it's stressful some days. It's super exciting most days, but then it's also terrifying. I got nobody to fall back on, right?
Yeah, well, that's like what those investors said, right? You'd have to put some skin out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I do wish you the best with that.
Thank you.
What is some of the equipment that's involved in making the beer?
So any brewer is going to have a brew house, and there's a number of ways you can go about that. You can go single vessel with a brew in a bag style, and that's basically you just use one vessel to do all your boil and your mash and everything like that. I'm going to go with a 3-vessel system, so I'll have a hot liquor tank, which is basically hot water. Then you're going to have your mash tun where you steep the grain, and then your kettle where you boil everything and you add your hops. So post-process, or I guess it's an additional process, is the fermentation. You're going to have fermenters, and then you're going to have bright tanks as well to carbonate the beer. So the way that a lot of smaller brewers have airlocks that just let pressure out, the CO2 that comes off the fermentation. As the yeast metabolizes the sugars, it produces CO2 and alcohol. And so venting that pressure keeps the fermenters from exploding.
Okay.
Or bursting. And then you want to put carbonation back into it so the beer has head and carbonation throughout.
Sounds good. Well, it sounds like if there's anybody listening, you can't just decide, I want to make beer. And
Oh, no. It's a huge financial commitment. Like,
Yeah.
This is do or die. Like, I don't have a plan B for this. It's I'm really putting myself out there. I've been trying to source all my equipment the cheapest I possibly can because, like I said, I'm doing this all on my own.
Yeah.
I actually drove my family to Long Island last week to buy 2 bright tanks. So we rented a truck and a big F-350 long box crew cab diesel. And we drove to Long Island and picked up these 2 tanks that just barely fit in the truck. And my goodness, my kids wanted to see like the Statue of Liberty, and we drove through Manhattan in this giant truck. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Was it like a come and go type of thing? Or did you stop to see a couple things in New York?
We stopped to see the falls. We didn't really stop, but we drove past the falls. The kids had never seen the falls, and I got married there, right in front of the falls. So my wife's all sentimental about that. And a funny story about that, too. The boys saw it right away. My daughter's only 2, not even 2. And she kind of had her head in a book or playing with her feet, or I don't know. She was sitting behind me. I couldn't see her. But it was clear that she wasn't seeing the falls.
Yeah.
And as we're driving by, I'm talking to the boys because they're asking me questions about it. We just hear, whoa! And my daughter's in the back seat just like freaking right out. And she sees the falls, right? And I don't know. I think that was such a cool reaction. They were actually really good, too.
Yeah?
I was supposed to go with a buddy, but he canceled last minute.
Okay.
His grandma was dying, and so can't knock him for that, but the timing sucked. And I just kind of woke up in the morning, and I'm sitting there going, like, I can't do this alone. Like, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
It's like 23 hours of driving. So my wife said, well, we could go. Just kind of like, I don't know if she was joking, but she wasn't. It seemed just kind of funny. It was like, oh, yeah, let's take 3 young children to the States to buy bright tanks and then tour back the next day.
Yeah, well, hopefully they learn to appreciate that one day.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know?
The kids got to see the Statue of Liberty, too.
Yeah.
So we saw a couple things. This, like, crossed things off the bucket list, I guess. And
Awesome.
I'd never been in New York before.
I never before that point.
Well, been in New York State just to pass through.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'd never been, like, New York City or Long Island or anything like that. It was cool. Quite the experience. I don't know how much longer I'd want to stay there, but just busy, man. Just a busy place.
Yeah, and well, they seem like they're very supportive of what you do. How do you find that factors into your family life? Like, how do you balance family and brewing?
I almost have an extended family because of brewing.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, I used to work for the last 5 years. I've been working out of town, on and off, and living in hotels, and you know, I miss some things that I really regret, like my children, just things my children did growing up. You know, I couldn't tell you what they are specifically, but I know there was things that I missed.
Yeah.
And that hurts pretty bad. But I was able to make some decent money and put some money away and buy a house and, you know, start a good life for them. And then now this whole brewing thing, to tie it back together, is bringing me back home. It's going to give me an opportunity to stay home, sleep in my bed every night, my own bed.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big deal to me.
You see these inspirational quotes all over the internet, and there's this one that posed the question, like, what are you willing to give up to achieve your dreams? And the answer simply was your life.
Yeah.
Your life, basically, which seems like what's going on with you.
I wouldn't say I'm sacrificing my life, because it's not like I'm losing my house or I'm...
Oh, definitely not. But that's what you're willing to put on the table.
Yeah, that's
to get
that's
it done.
definitely being risked.
Yeah.
Because if this fails, then yeah, sell my house and run away with my tail between my legs. But at least I tried, and that's kind of it. My family motto is "Essay," which is Latin for to try.
Okay.
So you got to try, and that's I'm going to turn that into kind of an ongoing theme with the beer too, because it's a double meaning. Try the beer, but more the way it's meant is to try in life, to actually put yourself out there and open yourself up to new opportunities that take you outside your comfort zone. Because there's definitely been points in this getting this brewery started that I'm not too comfortable.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a brave move, and like you said, it's a lot of putting yourself out there. If I may ask, how do you plan to market yourself and bring yourself to the awareness of the local community and possibly even further than that?
Radio shows, bud.
I mean, I'm flattered, but
I'm going to start small, and one of the beauty things about having a small system like the one I'm putting in,
yeah,
I'm going to do a 400-liter brew house and have 300-liter fermenters. So that seems like a substantial amount of beer, but I don't think it really is. In terms of other craft breweries in town have 15-barrel brew houses,
yeah,
which are much bigger. This is close to about a 3. So that gives you some sort of equivalency.
Okay.
I'm terrible with changing units in my head. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a huge following to start. I have quite a bit of Facebook followers and Instagram followers. I don't know, I'm terrible with social media.
But you're on social media.
I am, so yes.
Well, it's good to have one foot in. Do you have any feelers out there on like publications or newspaper, anything like that?
I've had a couple articles written about the brewery opening. I think it was Eat Drink Magazine had featured us, along with a couple of the other brewers going in town, some of the newer guys.
Yeah.
I've been contacted by London Free Press before. They had me, well, not featured, but I got a mention in one article. And then the guy I talked to said, give me a shout when you're close to opening and we'll do a whole feature on you. And, like, I'm not trying to take the whole market by storm. I'm just going to make a bit of beer and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Should be profitable. But I'll be looking to expand really early on. Once I start actually making money at it, I'll be able to help people, and I'll be able to grow and hire more people. And that's really exciting. I can't wait to help people out. This is going to be my main focus.
Do you have a projected launch date?
Everybody asks me that, and I don't blame them. I wish I had a straightforward answer, but I don't. It's just I'm playing the game right now, waiting for permits and licensing, and I'm hoping we'll be open this summer at some point. I don't know when. I wish I could tell people a day and it'd actually happen.
Well, that's fine. We won't hold you to a certain date, but it seems like you've got everything. All the pieces are there, right? It just depends on a few factors that fall into place.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously a few brewers here in London. I just wanted to ask, what's your relationship to them, if any?
I know a lot of the brewers in town, owners of different breweries. I don't want to name names. I'm not here to promote other people's beer or put other people's beer down. I think there's some wonderful, talented brewers in this city doing great things. And the general feel for the industry in town and I think across the province has been really, really welcoming, really friendly. People are up for collaborations and helping each other out. I've had some terrific guidance from existing brewers, other craft brewers in town, who, it's counterintuitive to help somebody who's trying to get in the same market as you. But it's a wonderful thing. We can look past that. We're all people with families and goals and dreams, and not one of us is going to be able to take over the whole marketplace that is London, let alone Ontario. So there's all kinds of room in the market, and other brewers have been wonderful with me. Forked River hosts the Brewers Guild.
Okay.
And that's been a wonderful resource. And we're starting to get into hosting it at other breweries in town, too. We've had it at London Brewing Co-op. We've had it at Anderson Craft Ales. Other brewers like Toboggan have come into, and Shortfinger, I forget where they're out of. I think Guelph. I'm not 100% on that, though. Terrible. Anyway, they come together for our homebrew competitions through the guild and the beer judge certification program, and they've put up prizes and all kinds of stuff that people can win. So there's more opportunity out there for the home brewer who's trying to get their beer noticed.
Okay, well, it seems like there's kind of a structure in place, like an association or...
Yeah, the Brewers Guild's wonderful. I've been a member now for 3 years or so, and it's been a wonderful resource.
How cohesive would you say it is? Is it along the lines of like a neighborhood watch, or is it more organized than that?
There's a corporate structure to it. So we have a constitution, and we have elections, and the guild has a secretary and a president, vice president, and a treasurer. It's pretty cohesive. I think it's moving in a really positive direction. There's going to be more events and more opportunity. People keep joining too, which is wonderful. Just the whole homebrew scene is growing here in London, and I think that's wonderful.
All right. Well, that's kind of... I wouldn't say it's not what I expected, but when you imagine all these startups, people coming up with their own brew ideas, what I had in mind was they're all at each other's throats.
No, not at all. No.
They seem like, starving musicians that really want to make it out in the world, and they believe they can do it together, which is kind of ties into the theme of the show, but it's quite nice. Yeah.
Well, it's lovely. It's a beauty community, and I've made some wonderful relationships out of that guild.
Yeah. People
who are genuinely really good people, and they lead similar lifestyles to me. They have families, they have houses, they want to do good in the world, they want to help people, and it's funny because people who are willing to try to make their own beer, because a lot of people just find it daunting, and there is a lot of complexities to it.
Yeah.
So I could see how it's a little off-putting at first, but there's been some veteran brewers that have been doing it for quite some time, and it's been getting easier too, because just the whole craft brewery scene exploding. Grains have become more available, hops have become more available, yeasts and stuff like that are all more available, so you can really bounce ideas off these older brewers who have been doing it for a long time. They've been pretty ingenious in some of the stuff they've had to think up on their own, because a lot of these guys started brewing before the internet was really a thing. Okay.
I wouldn't say it's comforting, but I think it's a little bit more reassuring knowing that there's a space where you can speak about this, not just with people who know what they're doing, but people who have done it.
Mm-hmm. And they have experience, and a lot of them are like-minded.
Yeah, it's a good resource, right?
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are going to be, there's women in the guild too. A lot of these people are, they're into, do-it-yourself projects and canning food and preserving their own food and gardens and growing hops. And I've been growing hops now for 4 years or something like that. And it's just, something to do.
Well, so that's the perspective when it comes to these small brewers. What I also want to know is, if any, what's the dynamic of the relationship between someone like yourself, who's a startup brewer, to say like a bigger brewery, a more well-known brand out there?
Like one of the big three, they call them.
Let's say that.
Yeah. I don't think I have a relationship with them.
No. Okay.
Really, like multinational conglomerate. Just I don't have a personal relationship with them, obviously.
But it's not adversarial.
Well, kind of.
Kind of.
They're kind of the big bad guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
do they actively try to do something, or is it one of those things where they pretend to not even acknowledge you?
well, there's definitely
Okay.
there's definitely things that have been done.
All right.
South African hop fields were all bought up by one of the large conglomerates, and so they just became unavailable before they even really got on the market. And that happened within the last couple of years. They're responding. Obviously, they're business. They're there to make money. They have shareholders. They need to make profits.
Yeah.
And, I'm doing the same thing, but on a small scale without shareholders. But I want to make money at this so I can,
Yeah.
provide for my family and help other people out. They say, my mentor had a good one. It was, your plane's going down. Who do you put the oxygen mask on first?
True.
You got to put it on yourself before you can help anybody else, right?
Yeah, that's looking out after number one.
Well,
which is,
it sounds greedy, but at the same time, if you're doing well,
yeah,
all of a sudden now you can help others do well. If you're drowning yourself, you're not going to save anybody. And there's been a couple other things too, like I believe it was Northern Brewer got bought up by one of the conglomerates. It's a homebrew store. So there's been ways that they've not necessarily tried to hamper the development of the craft beer or the homebrew scene, but there's definitely ways that they've tried to profit off of it. And then they've also bought up other brewers. Some smaller brewers have been bought up
Okay.
by these big corporations. And like brands like Mill Street. Mill Street got bought up by a big conglomerate.
Okay. So I just want to probe it a little further with that. When that type of thing happens, where they get acquired or incorporated into a bigger brand, do you know anything at all about how they maintain autonomy? Do they kind of lose their creative control over it? Like, what tends to happen, if you have any knowledge in that?
I think it's case specific. Mm-hmm. There's brands out there like, say, Budweiser. I went on the Labatt, two of the ones.
Yeah.
And they're still bound by contract, supposedly.
Yeah.
So the recipe should be the same that it was whenever they sold it, right? I'm not quite sure what other deals are, but I imagine a lot of these guys who have, namesake, like if somebody bought Dundas and Sons in the future,
Yeah.
obviously that's my name attached to it. I wouldn't take it lightly. I'd want it to have some sort of operating control or some sort of quality control built into the contract. So I think a lot of brewers do that.
Okay, so it's not necessarily like a negative thing.
No,
you can
not
make
at
it
all.
work.
No, if I were to have my brand with my name on it and put it out there and people grow to love it because I'm taking my time and trying to make something that's great, I don't want some conglomerate just buying it and then wrecking it.
Okay. Well, let's shift more to the community side of things. So, what would you say would be the biggest difference between local beer versus macro beer? So I know it sounds, on the surface, it sounds like an obvious thing, but there's always people out there that would like to know, and I think it's a little bit more nuanced than what you'd initially think.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of changes that are happening in the beer industry, and a lot of the differences are subtle, and again, it's case by case. You can't just say, oh, well, all macro beer is this and all micro beer is this.
Certainly, yeah.
But, excuse me. I'd say to generalize, it is a complete generalization. Generally, you're going to get a higher quality product out of a micro beer.
Okay.
It's going to be a smaller batch. You're going to have more ingredient per capita than these macro beers. These macro beers, some of them are better than others. Some of them have different style guidelines or production guidelines. But some of them, at the end of the day, it's bottom dollar. They'll get the cheapest ingredient and they'll do it the most cost-effective way. And they'll put that in the spotlight if it suits them. Like, say, even something like a CO2 recovery. That's wonderful. Your vented CO2 from your fermentation gets collected, compressed, and scrubbed, and then put back into the beer for final processing. Like, I'd love to have something like that. It's a green initiative, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it saves them all kinds of money because it's a huge scale thing, right? And I couldn't afford that. It cost me way too much money.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's something they put out there, and they do it because it's the bottom line. It saves them money.
Fair enough. And by no means are we trying to disparage big beers. Actually, we're just pointing out the differences because at the end of the day, when you go to the bar and go to a patio, you're going to be drinking these beers.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a good time is a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a companion.
I drink all kinds of beer, and I try not to discourage people from drinking anybody's beer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's beer that you don't like. Obviously, somebody's going to run into a beer at some point in their life that they don't like, even if they're like the most devout beer drinker, you know. And I think the big thing that I learned through the BJCP program, the Beer Judge Certification.
Okay.
I completed that last year sometime, is trying to find a way that you could suggest improvements instead of criticisms. So if you are going to knock a beer for points or something like that, you have to back it up with a suggestion.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And you want these to be constructive criticisms. You don't want to just hurt people's feelings. You know, a lot of people take a lot of pride in, and they should, you know, like making crafts and stuff like that.
And they put a lot of work into it. Like you mentioned
and it's
earlier,
not cheap.
right?
It's not cheap. Everybody thinks, oh, homebrewing is going to be cheap. That's the biggest lie. That's the biggest crock. I couldn't believe how much money I had to put into my homebrew setup. Like scale ups and new equipment. You learn a new technique. I'm constantly reading, right? I'm still learning at this. People are, oh, you're going to be the brewmaster. I'm like, maybe one day. I'm not a brewmaster. I'm just some guy brewing beers. Yeah. And I'm experimenting and doing all kinds of stuff that, you know, maybe somebody's thought of already, maybe not. But maybe I haven't seen it, which if I haven't seen it, maybe you haven't seen it. And then that'd be cool to put out in the market.
Thank you for joining us. That's all the time that we have for now. But tune in again next episode as we conclude our conversation in next week's installment of the show. If you or someone you know would like to be on the show, contact us through our social media channels. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Collective Journey. And always keep in mind, this is not just my adventure, but it's yours as well. This is our collective journey.